Hi, welcome to our channel of IGNOU Audiobooks. Indira Gandhi National Open University, School of Continuing Education, Certificate Programs, Certificate in Food and Nutrition, CFN, CFN2 Your Food and its Utilization. Block 4, Nutrition from School Age to Old Age, Unit 12 Nutrition through Life Cycle, Adolescence. This unit deals with one of the critical periods of development, i.e., adolescence, also known as teenage. Here normal growth, difference in growth patterns of girls and boys, specific problems relating to their nutrition, and nutrient requirements are discussed. 12.0 Objectives. After studying this unit you will be able to state the nutritional needs of adolescent boys and girls. Describe normal growth in adolescence and its effect on nutrient requirement. Recognize problems that might occur especially during adolescence and their effect on nutritional status and nutrient needs, and ensure normal growth in adolescence. 12.1 Introduction. Adolescence is a unique period of dynamic change which you may refer to as growing up. In this period not only will a boy or girl attain physiological maturity, but the adolescent also becomes increasingly independent and tries to be an adult. This period in an individual's life lasts nearly a decade. It is a critical period since development of the individual occurs at the physiological, psychological and social levels. Between the years 12 and 19 or what we term as teenage years, the adolescent grows to adult height and also matures sexually. You may be referring to any boy girl between 12 to 19 years as a teenager. Scientists also call this period adolescence. What does the term adolescence mean? Is it different from puberty? Let us understand both these terms. Adolescence is the time period that begins with the onset of puberty. At the end of adolescence, the individual has functional reproductive organs and has attained final physical growth, i.e., will not grow any further. Puberty or pubescence begins with the appearance of secondary sex characteristics. In girls, you can perceive this as development of the breasts, beginning of the menstrual period. In boys, you will find development of the genitals, appearance of the facial hair. In both sexes, hair begins to grow in the under arms. Basically, at the end of puberty, sexual reproduction becomes possible. Adolescence follows puberty and ends with the completion of physical growth at maturity. Thus, at adolescence, a girl is capable of bearing a child. During the teenage years, you will find that the difference between the sexes and between individuals of the same sex becomes more pronounced. An important aspect to remember is that no other age group is as concerned about their bodies or is as sensitive and hurt by criticisms as is an adolescent. All these factors sometimes may lead to the adolescent having a distorted view of himself/herself. Our concern is that often he/she may not make appropriate food choices, this compromising optimal growth. Bear in mind that if the growth of a teenager is not as good as it should be, it is going to affect his/her future health as an adult. 12.2 Physical growth and puberty. In this unit, our concern is to learn about nutritional requirements of the adolescent and has to understand the problems of adolescence as they affect nutritional status. Observe children between 10 and 14 years of age in your neighborhood. You will see that these children grow very fast. Suddenly, They have become very tall and put on some weight. They begin to look like adults. Growth proceeds very fast, in terms of both weight and height, and the growth spurt precedes menarche in girls and spermatogenesis in boys. Actually, you demarcate this more easily in girls because they start menstruating, have their monthly periods. After this growth spurt, growth continues but at a diminished rate. Remember that the velocity of physical growth in adolescence is second only to the growth rate during infancy. Up to 9 or 10 years you know that boys and girls increase in weight and height at the same rate, although girls, sometimes, may be slightly bigger and heavier. Puberty begins about 2 to 2.5 years earlier in girls than in boys. Thus, temporarily at the same age, you will see that girls are taller than boys and will have more muscle mass. After the growth spurt, i.e., approximately 9 to 12 months after the increase in height, menarche occurs. During this period, boys develop more muscle and their skeleton enlarges. At the end of adolescence, girls will have more fat and less muscle mass than boys. In this age span, height may increase by as much as 18 to 39 centimeters in girls and 21 to 45 centimeters in boys. However, the growth spurt may extend for 8 to 9 years in some children and only 5 years for others. You can see peak velocity, how fast they grow, around 14 years in boys. Girls will show peak increase at 12 to 13 years. You are listening to this audiobook on AudioLearn IGNOU. 12.3 Nutrient Requirements and Allowances. Remember, this period of growth is less predictable than at other ages, i.e., some teenagers may have their growth spurt at 11 to 12 years and others at 14 years. Remember that requirements will now be determined by sex. Even within the same sex, age, stage of puberty and growth rate are all important factors which will determine the nutritional requirements of adolescents. Recommended allowances of the Indian Council of Medical Research are based on chronological age. Adolescence is divided into two age groups, 13 to 15 years and 16 to 18 years. When you feed an adolescent, remember that food and nutrient needs are going to be proportionately higher during the growth spurt. Not only must you include enough cereals and protein-containing foods like daals or milk, meat, fish, egg, but also leafy vegetables and other fruits and vegetables which are very important. Include these foods because they provide minerals like calcium, which is important for development of bones, and iron for blood formation, in addition to vitamins A and C. During the adolescent growth spurt, for 18 to 24 months, when the growth rate is at its maximum, the nutritional requirements of the teenager may be twice as much as during the rest of the adolescent period. Nutrient requirements, of course, will parallel their growth. However, energy requirements, as you already know, will depend upon the amount of activity the teenager is involved in. During this period, the need for all minerals increases, but three of them are particularly important: calcium, for increased skeletal mass; iron, for the expansion of blood volume; and zinc, for the development of sexual organs and generation of new skeletal and muscular tissue. Calcium is required for skeletal development. Girls need more iron than boys because of iron losses in blood during menstruation. Like all other nutrients, vitamin intake is also essential for growth. The best way you can determine whether the teenager is receiving sufficient nutrition is to see whether he/she is growing well, whether he/she is eating a well-balanced diet, and whether he/she feels healthy and has stamina. If a teenager is constantly falling ill or feels tired continuously, you must worry. This is something that applies to people of any age group, does it not? Remember that the teenager is still growing. Make sure that the teenager has a good breakfast before he/she goes to school. In Unit 3, you learned about the daily food guide. Apply that knowledge here. Give them a nourishing packed lunch. Good, attractive and tasty dishes made at home are more useful for a teenager's body. Often teenagers may feel like eating in the canteen of the college or with friends in a hotel. Impress upon them about making correct food choices. So the number of servings for planning a balanced diet for adolescent boys and girls should be as given in the Table 12.1. Table 12.1, Balanced Diet for Children and Adolescent. Look at the screen for table content. 12.4, Factors influencing adolescents' food habits. Physical and psychological pressures influence adolescents' eating habits. Food intake of adolescents tends to vary more than those of younger children. Many of them may skip meals. This you will see more among girls who are figure conscious. Remember that this is also the age when the teenagers will be away from home for a long time during the day, in the company of friends, either at school or for extracurricular activities. Thus, the family may not be able to influence the adolescent's food choices as much as it would for a younger child. You may find that food habits change during this time. Although the change may be temporary, it is only when the parents are too rigid and authoritarian that the adolescent may use the food as an excuse to rebel. In spite of all this, you must remember that the family can still strongly influence the food habits of adolescents. Adolescents want to be part of the group, to be liked by their peers. Also, eating becomes an important form of recreation and socialization just as it does for you and other adults. Adolescents are also impressionable. Media like television, radio, magazines, newspapers, etc. expose the adolescent to a wide variety of views. What is important to remember is that the sole purpose of advertisements is to entice, grab attention and persuade the customer to buy the products. Dietary aids, chocolate, snacks, soft drinks, etc. all become popular because the advertisements take advantage of the teenagers' need for self-esteem and their desire to be attractive and popular. Often, therefore, you may find that a teenager misses breakfast and or lunch and chooses foods which may provide a lot more calories than they do other nutrients. Girls, especially, may reduce their food intake because they want to be slim. Very often their diets may not provide enough calcium, iron, vitamin C and vitamin E. Check your progress. Exercise 1. 1. Discuss how growth affects the nutritional needs of adolescents. 2. Plan a diet for an adolescent boy 13 to 15 years of age. 12.5. Dietary guidelines for adolescents. By now you know that adolescence is the critical period having highest nutritional needs. So by following the dietary guidelines given below you can ensure a balanced diet for adolescents. 1. Adequate well-balanced diet should be taken to prevent obesity and nutrition. 2. No meal of the day should be missed. 3. Iron-rich foods should be eaten to prevent anemia. 4. Calorie and protein-rich foods should be taken to support the growth spurt. 5. Eating habits should be independent of emotions. 6. Include fruits and vegetables to meet the vitamin, mineral and fiber requirements. 7. Physical activity should be encouraged, which regulates appetite. You are listening to this audiobook on Audio Learn IGNOU. 12.6 Problems of adolescence that might affect nutritional status. Obesity. One problem is that an unbalanced diet, which consists of foods which give mainly calories, may lead to obesity. If a teenager is overweight, he/she may be made fun of by his/her friends. It may affect the psychological and social maturation of the adolescent. Not only that, you know that obesity eventually will alter metabolic function and lead to elevation of blood pressure and of blood levels of triglycerides, glucose, etc., placing the person at a greater risk of having heart disease when he becomes an adult. Some adolescents, especially girls, resort to crash diets or semi-starvation in order to lose weight. Obviously, such diets will lead to inadequate intake of essential nutrients, i.e., vitamins and minerals. Thus, many teenage girls may be anemic because on the one hand they need more iron and on the other they are not taking foods which are rich in iron. Sports. Those who participate in sports and athletics must meet their energy needs. Most of them, you may observe, will eat enough to fill their stomach. They may consume a particular food more, although there is no rational basis for it. You must impress upon the teenager the need for eating foods from all food groups. Remember, it is not too late to change faulty eating habits. Poor eating habits can affect one's health for a lifetime. Water intake should not be reduced. If the teenager drinks too little water, it will put stress on the cardiovascular system and may also lead to kidney problems. Acne. Adolescents of both sexes, as you know, dread pimples and the problems of a poor complexion. In fact, you will see that teenage acne is subject to many fads and fallacies regarding their causes and treatment. Very often teenagers may stop eating fried food or sweet foods, etc., because they think it causes acne. This, in itself, may not be a problem. But beware of their stopping other nutritious foods. Also, they can eat a small amount of fried and sweet foods. It should do no harm. The real cause is that the sebaceous glands which produce oil and lubricate the skin are under hormonal control. In puberty, hormone production increases greatly, leading to acne. Remember, there is no rationale for recommending a specific diet or restricting certain foods to prevent or to cure acne. The best advice is to have a well-balanced diet and to combine it with good skincare. Alcohol. Teenagers may take alcohol for fun in the company of friends. What they must take care of is that it should not become an addiction. Alcohol is not a food. Moreover, it adversely affects appetite and nutritional status of an addict. Diabetes. Please be aware that diabetes among children or teenagers is quite rare. However, you may be acquainted with some adolescent who has juvenile diabetes. If a teenager is diabetic, you have to take great care so that while you provide enough nutrients for growth, you also keep the diabetes Under control. A diabetic adolescent must be given insulin, and it is important that you provide him/her with a normal and nutritionally adequate diet. See that the diet is satisfying and flexible enough. If you have too rigid a schedule, the teenager will find it very hard to adhere to it. There are 5 important principles of planning you must advise a diabetic adolescent about. 1. Meals and snacks should be eaten at regular times. 2. Foods high in sugar should not be eaten in large quantities. 3. Limit the amount of cholesterol-rich foods and saturated fats. 4. Avoid fasting. 5. Strictly follow doctor's prescription for insulin dosage and timing. 2. Control blood sugar. Pregnancy, very often, especially among those families who are not financially well off, girls are married when they are in their teens. As a result, many adolescent girls might become pregnant. In Unit 8, you have been given all the information about nutritional needs during pregnancy. Ensure that a pregnant teenager has enough food for her own and her baby's growth. You may encounter adolescents who suffer from other health problems like asthma, atherosclerosis, etc. For each of these conditions, you must take adequate and appropriate care under a doctor's guidance so that there will be no detrimental effects on his/her health on a long-term basis. 12.7 Let us sum up. Adolescence is a period of rapid growth at the end of which the individual reaches physiological maturity and is also sexually mature. Differences in body composition, weight and height between sexes and between individuals of the same sex will become apparent. Nutrient needs in this period are in accordance with the needs for growth and maintenance. Psychological and emotional factors may affect food intake in this age group. Peer pressure and lack of awareness regarding nutritional needs may lead to consumption of nutritionally inadequate diet. Problems related to teenage obesity, sports activity, early marriage and diseases like diabetes may affect growth and nutritional status of the adolescents. 12.8 Glossary. Menarche, onset of menstruation, monthly periods in girls. Puberty, period when secondary sexual characteristics develop and sexual reproduction becomes possible. Adolescence, period of development between school age and adulthood. Spermatogenesis, development of spermatozoa. Diabetes, metabolic disorder resulting from a reduction or total loss of insulin, a hormone, in which blood sugar level increases from normal range. 12.9 Answers to check your progress exercises. Check your progress exercise 1. 1. During adolescence, children grow very fast. They become tall and put on weight and begin to look like adults. Up to 9 or 10 years, boys and girls increase in weight and height at the same rate. After this age, puberty begins and is accompanied by a growth spurt. In girls, this takes place earlier than in boys. During the growth spurt, 18 to 24 months, when the growth rate is at its maximum, the nutritional requirements may be twice as much as during the rest of the adolescent period. The nutritional needs during adolescence are therefore determined by growth on an individual basis. 2. Sample diet for an adolescent boy 13 to 15 years old. Breakfast, milk 1 glass, tea L cup. Egg paratha 2 or bread slices 3 with butter. Fruit. Lunch, chapati 4 stuffed with chana dal. Potato sabji 1 katre. Salad. Chikki. Tea, sandwich of 4 slices bread. Milk. Dinner, rice 2 kataries. Dal 1 katri. Green leafy vegetable 1 katri. Dahi. 3. During adolescence, girls require more of calories, protein, minerals, especially calcium, iron and zinc and vitamins like vitamin A and C2, compensate for the fast growth during this period. Therefore, during this time, more of cereals, pulses, milk, eggs, green leafy vegetables and other fruits and vegetables need to be taken to meet the nutritional requirements. Skipping meals, eating junk foods are to be avoided. Thank you. We will see you in the next video.